don't like this feature. I really wanted it to work so that I could just use the webcam. But the webcam, for whatever reason, YouTube doesn't want me to use the webcam. It wants me to just do screen capture, which is not really what I'm wanting to do at this point. So I am going to just be drawing, but not showing anybody anything. And so I know maybe that's a bit of a tease, but it's kind of what I'm going to do at this point. The reason I'm not going to show anything is because I am I'm working on my book. So if you want to keep me company while I'm working, that's cool. It kind of just gives me, the idea of socialization while I'm working on art. How are you doing? I also wish I could just play my music out and about. It'd be kind of nice. But I get it. It's copyright and everything, and people worked hard to make it. I mean, I don't have a lot of viewers, but I think people would be interested to see and hear what's on my playlist. So this past weekend, I did a comic book show that honestly wasn't great. It didn't go very well. There wasn't a great turnout. There wasn't a lot of sales. We had one vendor creator leave maybe after 2 hours. And honestly, like, it was a little shocking, but I kind of honestly don't blame them. Like, I wouldn't want to sit there, I wouldn't want to, but I did sit there, for hours without a lot of without money coming in. And one of my friends was saying, he didn't think it would do very well because Tucson Comic Con is like right around the corner. So people are probably saving money, for that show, which, makes perfect sense. But I wish I had considered that before, before I signed up for it. But, not everything can be, a home run. I ended up coming home, and 3 of the books that I had on sale, the bigger books, I put on eBay, which I don't like to do because eBay takes big fees and makes shipping, not from them really difficult. So I hate using them for things, but I put one of the books on eBay because I'm trying to make some money for the upcoming Tucson Comic Con. So I have some money to spend, and Sabaton, which I'm really excited for. It'll be my first anime con attending as a fan in a couple of weeks. And you want to have some money to go, right? Because there's some voice actors I want to meet. Kind of like to see what sort of merch is there and stuff like that. So I'm excited. And then this is the first time I'll be going to Tucson Comic Con not as a vendor. I've only missed one other year as a vendor. And that's because me and a friend decided to try a different show in Albuquerque that turned out, I believe it turned out to be a scam. Some people would say it wasn't a scam. It was just very poorly planned. And I mean, if you're running a convention and it gets shut down because you haven't paid the venue, and the first day that it's opened, there is one or two attendees, I'm sorry, that comes off as a scam in my eyes, and just a cash grab. But the really weird thing was there were like voice actors and like celebs there and stuff like that. So I mean, fairly well-known people, which is kind of, in my eyes, kind of strange how that worked out. But buddy, you can go lay down. So lately I've been working on chapter 3 of Welcome to Pleasant Falls, my horror book. And I got, not directed at me, but I got some advice from what's his name? Regular Eye Patch Wolf or Super Eye Patch Wolf. He was talking about, he got some advice on how to like avoid burnout, because somebody in his chat asked about, like, what do you do to avoid burnout as a creator? And he mentioned how, if regular Eye Patch Wolf, you know that he's into like combat sports and stuff like that. So he does martial arts somewhat competitively, but like, it's a discipline that he enjoys and stuff like that. So you go to the gym to train, and he was talking about how he goes like twice a week, and he puts out like maximum effort, but he's so worn out that he can't do more than twice a week. And so he saw another guy there who is there on the same day as he goes, and was just like, oh, that's cool. He comes here the same 2 days that I come. And somebody told him, no, that guy comes here 5 days a week, which includes the 2 days that you come. So he went over and he approached the guy and he's just like, how do you do it? How do you come in 5 days a week? Like I'm dying trying to, keep up just doing twice a week. And the guy told him, I don't give 100%. I come in, I do my workout, I do 60, 70%. And it kind of resonated with something one of my bosses told me that one of her bosses told her. It was like, I don't want you to give 100% every day. I want you to give me like 80% every day. And their reasoning was because one day I'm going to need you to give me 100%. And I don't want you to be destroyed, unable to do it. So, and I'm like, that makes sense, right? So I heard that piece of advice, and I'd only been really applying it to work, like, not my work. But it really makes sense when you think about it. So that was like last Tuesday. And last Tuesday, I only had to page 3 penciled of chapter 3. But by the end of yesterday, this is now page 6 that I'm working on today. So I finished page 5 yesterday. And so what I'm doing is each time I'm putting the pencil onto the page to work on chapter 3, I'm like planning to work for, 30, 40 minutes and, just do a little bit of work, not tell myself I've got to dedicate, hours upon hours and you're somehow a failure or you're wasting time if you don't, meet that criteria. I'm not a professional comic book artist. I may never be a professional comic book artist in the sense that I'm working for like Marvel or DC or something like that. I don't really want to work for Marvel or DC, but like, I think you guys know what I mean. And so the idea is you've got to get the repetitions in and you've got to work on what you want to do to make progress. And so if I'm able to do like 30 or 40 minutes a day working on my book, I'm going to slowly chip away at it, right? Actually, give me a second. I'm going to go grab page that I was working on before because I need to get the expressions right. So I have my trusty portfolio that I put my pages in after I'm done with them, and sometimes before I'm done with them, because you need to be able to reference stuff. And, well, if you're like me, you see me like moving shit around over here. Stuff sometimes, doesn't get handled with the kid gloves that it needs to be handled with. So I've got to be able to, reference what I'm working on and kind of get them, just right. Especially because this scene is like two pages long, and I'm kind of stretching it out. I already stretched, this was basically just page 4, and I've now stretched page 4 to page 5 and page 6 now. Because I have the script was written for the entire graphic novel, which was about 80 something pages. But when I was working on chapter 1, or the first part of the graphic novel, I added about 10 pages. So it became like it became 96 all of a sudden, right? You're fine, dude. I know you don't like the storm, but hey man, we're inside. You're safe. And I don't want to like show the artwork while I'm working on it, because I was doing that at times, like doing the inking and stuff like that, and trying to do like time lapses with chapter 2. And I've been told by a couple of people that they avoid some of my videos and they avoid my lives if I'm showing off any artwork that I'm working on, because they want to see the chapters as they come out and they don't want anything to be spoiled. So with chapter 3, I may be doing, less. I won't be doing any lives where you see the artwork with chapter 3 or 4. But of course, I want to still do lives, so I might just do stuff like this where, it's just me talking, and I don't know if that's something that people want, but it's my channel. It's part of like how I'm doing like some accountability for doing the artwork, and it gets a little bit of social interaction, which I think is, good for all of us. Online interactions aren't as real as, in-person interactions, but, some of us don't do like in person or don't have that opportunity that often. So, what's up, Angel? So my stream today, Angel, is not me obviously showing off any artwork. It's me just, talking while I'm working on chapter 3. Because I don't want to do any spoilers or anything. I have had there's been people who've said, I don't want to accidentally see something that might ruin story for me. And I'm like, you know what? I dig that. I respect that. To me, that's a compliment, But I also didn't feel like working on like sketch cards or anything else, and I wanted to get some work done. So I've been watching YouTube videos like all day and like sleeping and stuff like that because I wasn't feeling great this morning. And it's kind of funny because like I fell asleep this morning watching Chibidoki videos, and it's kind of like I don't know why, but I can sleep during Chibidoki videos even though she's like really loud. You all right, buddy? Also, one of the books that I had with me at the comic show this past weekend, one person took a look at it, and it obviously didn't end up buying it, but I posted a couple of books on eBay, and somebody threw an offer out within like a couple of hours of it going out. And then so I waited. I was just like, okay, cool. Because that's a good sign, right? And had somebody else threw an offer out today because I need some cash to like go to the Tucson Comic Con and Sabaton and stuff like that. Um, and so the second offer that came in was less than the first offer, and so I threw a counter offer to the first offer, and that person bought it within like threw the offer out, and then like within 10 minutes the book had sold. So I got it all packed up, ready to go. So it'll be a little bit of cash for me. And I have like two more that I'm looking at selling. I got to show you some of the, because I bought some Mad magazines a while ago when I was doing like resale. And because my dad has a friend who's really into Mad magazines. And I never ended up getting a chance to show them to my dad to see if his friend wanted them. So when I dig them out or whatever, I'll take a picture of them and I'll send them over to you to see if you have them or if they're of any interest to you. They're more modern, but at the same time, like some of them are probably from the 80s or 90s. So maybe there's like a couple of like movie specials or like, okay, we gotta add his. You're like drawing these things, realizing you guys cannot see them. I am really liking Eka Vandal. I think she's excellent. I got to go on Bandcamp and start buying um, some albums from some independent artists. But got some decent feedback on some of my artwork. There was a couple of young women who came over and they were flipping through the sketch card book, and then flipping through all the prints and the original pieces, and one of them really into like monsters and stuff too, and she was telling me like that some of the work I was doing was really good, and like the movement I was getting out of some of the characters was really great, because sometimes kaiju can be really hard to, you know, give movement to. And so it's always cool, you know. Hearing it from artists is always a nice thing, but hearing it from somebody who appreciates that specific level of like characters and fandom and stuff like that, it's always like really neat. um hey, Shelly. So no, you're not watching me. You're watching me draw, but you're not watching the artwork today, because I'm working on my horror comic, and I'm trying to avoid showing it, as like I love doing this book, but I want to avoid spoilers for those who end up reading it. Um, but at the same time, this is kind of a good practice for me, because I have a really hard time like not showing off and sharing the work that I'm doing like right away. So it's a good way for me to get work done, but also like, you know, not do those types of things. Hey, Dustin. It's a little bit different today. It's kind of like that day I was doing making bags and boards. So it's just kind of me talking and whatever while I draw, but you guys don't get to see what I'm drawing. So it's more like a, I don't know, like a hang session at a coffee house, where like, you know, everybody's just kind of doing their own thing. I might flash the page when when I'm done, but maybe not. Angel just picked up chapter 1 of Welcome to Pleasant Falls. Um, this past weekend, so you'll have to tell me what you think, Angel. I don't know if you're into horror or not. I know you like comedy type stuff, and there's some funny parts in it, but I tried to keep it mostly like just straight horror. Um, no. I don't have a lot of money that I can spend before Tucson Con and Sabaton, and two, um, I'm not really on good terms with the people who own um, Presidio. I used to be friends with them, but I I made a comment uh, that honestly, it's fair that they didn't like. I was trying to be funny, and it ended a friendship. And like I apologized, but I wasn't like you know falling all over myself to apologize because I try not to do that anymore. Um, I did sell one of my big books though, Dustin. I sold forget if I told you, I sold a copy of Ultimate Fallout number 4, first Miles Morales, um, on eBay this afternoon. Just packed it up and for shipping out tomorrow. So I'll put a little bit of money in my pocket. And I forget if I did I do a live stream last week? I might have. I think I did one when I was working on some of the anime cards. Yeah. So I was saying that I sold quite a few cards at anime uh, Casa Grande. That's funny because I'm trying to not make her unlikable, but I'm just trying to make her like she's this character who is like very obviously trying really hard to be edgy. And she wants desperately to be accepted. So there's a little bit of me in that character. Um, Even up to a couple of years ago, like realizing when I was in a crowd of people or a group of people, like I felt like I was trying to compete with other individuals in the group for like energy and attention and stuff like that. So I would just be, extra obnoxious and extra loud. And I know I still do that to an extent, but believe it or not, um it's not to the extent of what it used to be. Like it used to be really bad. And so I try to stick with being in like smaller groups Um, I did have somebody, I asked them like who their favorite character was after the first issue, and they told me Perry was their favorite because she just kind of says whatever the hell she wants. And that's exactly like the what I was, doing with that character, but there's like a function behind it where somebody might say whatever they want because they're not scared of the repercussions. Like she's definitely the type of person who's saying it to try to make people like her. Dustin loves it. It's Dustin's favorite comic book of all time. I'm just kidding. I'm just happy there are people who want to read it and are, waiting for the next chapters or what kind of what costume or character are you working on for your costume, Shelley? I really want to do a power cosplay, but I need I might wear my Erica Slaughter sick tick cosplay to Tucson Con. I mean, it'll be hot enough that wearing a tank top won't be, out of realm. And I don't really have any anime stuff, like even shirts and stuff to wear. Uh, for Tucson Con, I think I'm going both Saturday and Sunday. Um, and then for Sabaton, I'm going on Monday because they run Friday through Monday, which is kind of neat. So Richard was checking to make sure that none of um, the like voice actors and people that we're wanting to see are still going to be there on Monday, hopefully. And he said only one person that he's noted so far is Sunday is going to be the last day. So, and I don't believe it's anybody that we're wanting to see. So, Sabaton is Arizona's biggest anime convention. So it's like manga, anime, and like voice actors from anime. So one of the two voice actors from Chainsaw Man are going to be there. One is in both the movie, the Reze arc, and on the regular series. One is Reze, so um, she's a big name. So she's the primary reason that I want to go. And then, but then there's a couple of actual Japanese voice actresses who are coming, and that's not the most common thing to have the OG Japanese voice actors over here in the States. So that's a great opportunity to meet some people as well. Um, and then also, um, all right, Dustin, have a good night. All right. Well, I think that's it for this page that I'm working on. Um, let's see. Put this back up because now I have the panel that I need if I need to revisit it later on. Give me a second. I can switch the camera over and then I can just kind of work on some generic stuff. Oh, there we go. Knocking stuff over like I always do. All right. Just trying to think of stuff I can draw. Trying to think of like what I can draw that's appropriate because usually my sketchbooks are uh, pretty raunchy. I would say been watching some horror movies as part of my 100 Days of Horror, and some decent recommendations, and some really bad movies that you probably want to avoid, like The Plague. And one of those I watched last night, called The Doll. There have been probably a dozen or more movies made called The Doll. This one was from 2017. It was about a guy and his buddy who order a Russian escort, and she shows up and she literally acts like a doll. Like, she doesn't emote. She walks very stiffly and everything. She was the best part of the movie. The writing was terrible. The directing was awful. The characters, like the acting, was really bad. I try not to blame the actors with movies, just because I'm like, well, you have, directors and writers who are supposed to be, moving people into positions that they want, and telling them like how you're supposed to be reacting in this scene and stuff like that. And and it didn't seem like anybody really knew what they were doing, like, even down to the editing. Like, there were like a continuous scene where somebody would move from one room to the other, and they'd be in two different outfits, or be in the same outfit but being like wearing a sweater, and then all of a sudden they weren't wearing the sweater. It was just like, I don't know, man. It was just so poorly done. The timing was off on a lot of stuff, like, in terms of like, characters doing something, and then all of a sudden they're in another part of the room or another part of the house, and you're like, is this supposed to have happened like before this scene? Because it just, overall, like, really bad movie, really. And not even so bad it's good, like, just so bad it's bad. Like, somebody's hiding under the bed, person they're hiding from is in the room, then that same person is out killing people in a different part of the house, and then they're back in the room, or they walk back into the room, and the person like hasn't left from hiding under the bed. And you're like, it's kind of weird, like, you would think if somebody left the room, why you wouldn't have left the room. some chicken wings defrosting. Probably won't make them tonight. I just started drawing this, and it made me think of Oi Boy from Blackheart Billy, which is a 2-issue comic book, independently produced, written and drawn by Kieran Dwyer. And it's pretty ridiculously fantastic. Guy who was a punker named Blackheart, or named Billy, who got his head torn off in the pit. They stuck his brain in a jar with alcohol. Like, they just poured beer in it to try to keep his brain saved. And they put it in a robot head and reattached it. And so he's always like super off kilter. I don't remember where I found it or if it came recommended to me, but like I remember I bought it. I think it was the early to mid 2000s. And I don't know. I just fell in love with it. I still have the 2 copies, the 2 issues, and then I have the trade paperback, and then I have, but I have 2 copies of number 1. So, but in the book, there's a character named Oi Boy, and he's completely bald, and he's just got like, the the skinny jeans and the like white tank top. Was like a classic, not racist punk skinhead. And he's friends with Billy. And like, I think there's like a part where he has to mosh his way through something. And so since he's a robot head, he's got these like little spikes on the top of his head, and he takes those little spikes off and puts these giant spikes on, and he like stabs it's like a monster or a Nazi or like something. Like they show up to a show and he takes care of them, kind of thing. Which I'm just like, all right. You have to do that kind of carefully because I think YouTube, even if you're not presenting it in a positive light, which we are not and never will, um, I think they have a severe problem with that image, even if it's being crossed out like it is. So this is the tough part. The hand at that angle. Best thing to do is get he's like Don Quixote. He's fighting windmills. Yeah, I've often not often thought, but I've thought about like what would I do if like YouTube booted me, right? Like cuz I don't have enough followers on Instagram to be able to do lives. I don't really want to do lives on Facebook. Like I know so many people who don't use Facebook because it just sucks. Um That's true. I've been thinking about restarting my Twitch profile, which I haven't used in friggin' years. I don't think they're as harsh with like you using music and stuff like that either. So, I mean, I might try that. Plus, you can do it as an app from your phone, so you can, do artwork and then moderate at the same time. And I think, like part of it is interesting. Like, are you doing it to try to, make money? Which, no, I'm not. Or are you doing it because you just want like an outlet and you're hoping to, maybe expand your reach a little bit, which is exactly what I'm doing, like I'm never going to be monetized on YouTube. I'm probably never going to get any sort of, sponsors or anything like that. Um, with respect of, somebody paying me to say something about a product. And I'm the type of person that I'd be like, I can't take money from you. I've never used your product or I never will use your product or, I'm not going to shill it, if I don't have any sort of belief structure in it. Um, I mean, I would probably run an ad like for like Pepsi because I drink Pepsi and Pepsi products. For Adidas because I wear Adidas shoes. Um, maybe Crunchyroll because I watch Crunchyroll. I don't know if Riff Tracks throws out sponsorships, but I watch Riff Tracks. Um, All right. Well, that's not a bad one to kind of do and end the day on. Kind of like him. Just kind of done out of nothing, you know. Maybe throw some ink on him, and just like drawn from, no real purpose. Like it was just like, oh, well, I could do the skankin, symbol or the skankin dance. And like, then it was like, well, maybe you could pose them into like a comic book character or something like that. But why not stick with, where it came from? All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Might do a couple more of these, just keep Jack's company while he works on comic book projects with no real direction. And if I'm working on my book, not do any spoilers and do like the face or, show something else or just do audio. I don't know. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. See you guys in probably the next couple of days. Night.